boards are unclamped. Shop is a mess. It's Saturday morning at about 9:15. So let's see if we can wake up the neighbors. Hey guys, welcome back. So today's video is going to be busier than the last one. I'm going to be knocking out a wooden stool that I'm going to be using throughout the shop, primarily with the lathe. And of course here at the workbench, we'll be making another jig for the bandsaw to be able to mill out logs and other wood to be able to use it for different purposes. We'll also be knocking out a hanger for the dolly of mine that I have because it's just simply in the way at this point. And I also am going to be knocking out a couple of, at least, of the cutting boards and hopefully be able to start in on making more later on down the road. So, because I plan on starting next year, the end of this year, beginning next year, start be able to making and selling some stuff, and hopefully things work out the way I'm looking forward to. So, let's go ahead and jump on straight on to the stool. So I've got some walnut here, black walnut, I'm going to use for the seat itself, and I'm going to go ahead and at least start here. It's not really sacrificial crack here. So I have that crack. I got some others on the other side I gotta deal with. Apparently screwed at some point. You can see over here as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and knock some of this off. Make sure I get past those cracks there. Alright, so now since we have this figured up, we'll work with these odd numbers. So, okay, looks like 17 3/4, and we'll stay at this width of 10. So, I'm going to go ahead, I need to get this set up for our perimeter here. Perimeter, it's going to be 3.5 inches deep. I am going to go ahead and actually cut this down, trim this down to 9.5. That way I'm having more of a consistent cross here. I did wind up getting me one of these little gizmos. Let's see here. This is an angle finder. This is gonna make things a whole lot easier instead of putting in a lot of guesswork. So I'm going to go ahead and sand these down, and these parts, and it's a rough sanding. It's like these pieces here, they need some attention. I would go ahead and run them through the planer, but I think it might be a little bit quicker to just sand it down. I'm not real sure. I might just I'll end up eating my words later. I don't know. I'm going to end up using dowels, fit all of these together to go ahead and get these together instead of just glue and brads. I kind of want to make it look kind of neat. I was going to go ahead and do 3, but 3 does not seem to be practical in this small of a spot. We'll do just 2 1/4 inch. So with these, I am needing to make sure that I get these lined up right. 1, 2, L3, L4. The reason why I'm doing it like this, because I got these little tabs here. I'm going to use these little guys here. These came with the kit I got, and so I'm going to go ahead and utilize them here to be able to do this up somehow. Hopefully get them right. So I see why those guys don't like using those little peg things, because these things are not squared up whatsoever. It's probably my fault because I probably did it wrong, but it is what it is. I'll come back and plane these up, get a little bit more square and flush. While this is drying, I'm going to go ahead and jump over to the legs and start working on those. So I managed to get these 2x3s from work. What I'm going to do is I'm going to end up getting 2 pieces out of this, try to get 2 pieces out of this. I'm going to come down a little bit on both ends, the depth of my little box, and then from one point I'm going to taper it and cut it in that manner, and that way I can get 2 pieces out of it, and then I end up cutting these down to 30-inch pieces. That way I can square off the ends. So these are dried up. Probably not going to worry about it squaring this up too much tonight. I know I probably should. I'm ready to take this, be a little bit off, but I think it'll be all right. So let's go ahead and get this glued up. Oh crap, I just realized I'm out of clamps. I gotta do some fine tuning on some stuff, but I guess I do have a couple of extra clamps. I'll see what I might be able to salvage whenever it comes to sanding it, final sanding. Alright, time to let this dry. So I did forget to mention that with these legs, I did wind up running them through the table saw and cutting them down into half. That way I can go ahead and have enough material to go ahead and make the legs here. And went ahead and got it all, the legs clamped together and shaped to the way I want them, and wound up trimming them down to be able to get them right. And I did wind up having to cut them down to 24 inches instead of 30 like I originally anticipated, because there just wasn't going to be enough surface area at the base of the legs, because I was afraid it was going to end up breaking off. So I went ahead and just made it 24 inches and gave myself a little bit of extra room down at the base of the feet. And went and got through the legs in and got the baseboard or footboard, whatever you want to call it, the lower band around the legs to be able to keep it squared up all the way down. I was wanting to keep them on the inside, but I just didn't really want to tackle that on this project. Went ahead and just did it around the border like I did the top, and went through a coat of boiled linseed oil around it. And of course I'm making a mess of the linseed oil and glue throughout the entire project like I normally do. And I have to say, this thing came out really freaking swell. And I am actually really happy with the way that this came out. And I am kind of anxious to go ahead and try this out, because this thing is looking pretty slick. So let me go ahead and try this thing out. So it may be a little bit lower than what I actually want. Actually, it's actually not that bad, to be frank. It is a little bit low, but it's actually not that bad, especially for here. But I am going to go ahead and jump over to the lathe and go ahead and start messing with it over there. Let's see here. Actually, it's almost perfect for here to be able to do what I need to do here. So it might be a little bit low. Like I said, I did unintentionally make it low, but I think it'll be all right. I wanted to obviously work with it, but I think it's going to come out all right, because this thing is pretty slick. I do believe that this is white oak for the legs. The rest of this, I think is pine or something along that lines. Of course, the black walnut. So yeah, it's came out really nice. So now I'm going to go ahead and move on to the cutting boards, the butcher's blockers, or whatever you want to call them. So let's go. So I went ahead and chiseled out all of the live edge bark that was on there and started cutting everything down to thickness and widths and everything. And cutting them down to length for each board. Started sanding down each edge and started getting along in there, and I went ahead and started doing dowels on them, on just one of them, just to see how it was going to work out. And it didn't work out too terribly well, but I'm making it work. And the others, I am on 2 others anyways, I am just simply clamping them together and gluing them up, and they are officially glued together and are ready to roll. So we'll go ahead and wait for these to dry. It's currently nighttime, of course, since I'm only able to do these during the evening except for on weekends. So I'm going to call it a wrap for tonight, and I'll be working on those here, trying to finish those out here pretty quick. So let's get to it. Boards are unclamped. Shop is a mess. It's Saturday morning at about 9:15. So let's see if we can wake up the neighbors. Wound up not waking up any of the neighbors, but I went ahead and went on and cutting and chewing up the edges of the cutting boards and picking up something that I found off of John Malecki, where he used glue and some cracks and to fill cracks and then start sanding it to fill in those cracks to be able to kind of fill the voids to help keep the board sealed. On some of these boards, I went ahead and rounded over the bottom sides of them, and just to make it a little bit easier to pick up and be able to store it from there. Well, final sanding is done. So just simply going to use mineral oil as a sealant, and so let's get it done. Wow. All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and coat the others and show you guys real quick. I am actually really surprised on how well this came out. So give me a few minutes and I'll show you the rest of them. So here they are officially done. And that one there is going to end up being my daughter's. But these things came out really freaking nice. This was another confidence boost for me, because this is going to be another item that I'll end up trying to sell. This one here, I still got to do some work with it. You know, I'm trying to fill in some holes here and here, using that same concept with the glue, putting the glue in there, in the hole and sanding it. But these go all the way through. I'm finding out on the back side, this is not, there's a hole there, just simply a hole. So I'll end up getting this all fixed and ready to go, but this is for something else. But I'm really psyched about how these came out. Let's go ahead and move on to the jig for the bandsaw. That way I can get that done and get all that wood up there. Those 2 there and those 4 right there. Get those milled down. That's the whole reason why I'm wanting to do that, but it's going to obviously take a little bit of time to get those milled out. So let's go ahead and get on to it. So the plan is to stay 1 inch off of the blade here and have the back side of the jig flush to the edge of this. So I need to make this 5 1/4, the base. So the board I'm using is 3/4 thick, so I actually need to make the bottom 5 1/2 inches. Yes, max height will go 7 inches tall. So here's the jig. Got it clamped up here, and I even went through and labeled and cut out, so I have a reference. And do 1 inch, 2, 3, 4, 5 inch pieces, and be able to, well, I may not be able to do the 5 inch because I won't be able to clamp it, but definitely a 4, up to 4 inches. So this is what it kind of looks like, and I'm going to go ahead and test it out here real quick and see how it all works. So let's do a quick quality control here. About a 16th under. Yeah, about 16th under, which isn't bad because it's just going to be a rough cut. Is all I'm worried about, and you can see the texture here. That's what this is just so I can get it cut down to size, and well, it may not be like this when it's squared, but be able to rip it down into, well, stuff like this, and be able to use it for different projects. So quality control, I'd say that's close enough. Now on to making a little hook, and it's going to be looking something kind of like that. I've been doing this, a lot of these throughout the shop, and you see I got hoses here, extension cords over there, one for my leaf blower here, and another for my weed eater, and my little cultivator type of thing there. So these things I've been using, made a few, so I'll show you how I've made them. So I'm going to cut my 1 at 4 inches and wind up doing 6 inches for the 2 I plan on using. Drew out my design here, the what I want, just simple horseshoe, and I'll also do a little kick on one side so it'll be rounded. Then just cut it out. Now this part obviously isn't necessary, but I like to try to make my stuff look at least somewhat okay, so sanding out is not necessary. I also like to drill pilot holes and go ahead and taper out the holes. That way the screws will be able to seat in there really well. And of course, assembly is last. And there of course won't be much of to assembly, just simply glue and brads. And if you want to use screws instead, by all means go ahead and do so. And back in this corner is where it's going to be, kind of out of sight, out of mind, but no, that's there. There it is. And you see why I would mess with the sander. It was actually, when I had it up there the other way, it was like right in here. So the platform for the dolly, it wasn't very far from the sander. So it's up there and it's hanging, so it's done. So that is going to be a wrap for the video. So I'm really glad to get a little bit farther along on some of this stuff that I've been needing to do and been wanting to do too. So if you want to check out all the socials, they'll be linked down in the description below. If you also want to check out on my church's Facebook and YouTube, they'll be linked down there as well. We do go live every Sunday morning on both platforms, so if you want to, check it out. Starts at somewhere around 10:45-ish. I think they might start a few minutes early, but nonetheless, they'll be linked down below, and I'm going to go ahead and jump onto the video verse. So I'm going to use a brand new stool I've been using. So this video verse is John chapter 3 verses 22 through 30. It says, Jesus and John the Baptist. Cut that part out. And it says, after this, Jesus and his disciples went to the Judean countryside, where he spent time with them and baptized. John also was baptizing in Aenon, near Simil, because there was plenty of water there. People were coming and being baptized, since John had not yet been thrown into prison. Then a dispute arose between John's disciples and a Jew about purification. So they came to John and told him, Rabbi, the one you testified about and who was with you across the Jordan is baptizing, and everyone is going to him. John responded, No one can receive anything unless it has been given to him from heaven. You yourselves can testify that I said, I am not the Messiah, but I have been sent ahead of him. He who has the bride is the groom, but the groom's friend who stands by and listens for him rejoices greatly at the groom's voice. So this joy of mine is complete. He must increase, but I must decrease. And that's John chapter 3, verses 20 through 30. Thanks for watching, guys, and hope to see y'all in the next one.